Moving the needle.
What is up, everyone? This is Transformer. We are back for another edition of Moving the Needle, but this time, from all the way across the pond, we have Galactus Jack all the way from the UK. What is up, Galactus Jack?
Yes, boys, it's good to see your happy faces.
Yeah. It's so good to have you, man. Galactus Jack, Ben Jack, how are you? What's life been like? And are you guys surviving coronavirus?
We're doing all right over here, man. It's been a strange year, like it has been for everybody over here in the UK. I don't know exactly when this is getting aired, but we're still in a lockdown right now. We're gonna be in a lockdown for a little while more, but there's a roadmap for us getting out of lockdown by the summer. We're hoping we'll be kind of starting to get back to normal. But as for me and my immediate family, everyone's kind of happy and healthy, so very blessed there, and just trying to do our best to support everybody who's not having such an easy run of it right now.
Yeah, totally.
Right on, man.
And hopefully, you could do some shows. I know we've done some stuff together, and obviously you definitely bring it in the shows, which is awesome. And of course, we're a big fan of your music. We play your music on the show. We play your music when we do gigs or whatever. So definitely stoked on that, and we'll talk about that definitely. But tell us just real quick, what was life like growing up for you? Kind of your story, your background. And how did you get into this thing called electronic dance music?
Well, I grew up in a Christian home. My parents were missionaries actually before I came along. And then by the time I was on the scene, my dad was a church leader for a while and then became the principal of the Bible college seminary over here in the UK. So I grew up in a home that was very kind of like faith-filled academically, but also missionally. And my mom has been involved in all sorts of amazing work over the years, but probably the defining thing that she's done over many, many years in different ways is bereavement care and supporting people who've lost loved ones, all different ages actually of the spectrum. Many years working with families who'd lost or were about to lose children, and then through the process of losing children. So you can imagine she's a very caring and compassionate woman. So I grew up in a home that was like faith, thinking about the Bible, taking it seriously, compassion, taking care of people's needs. And that was a really good combination to grow up in. Caused me to think a lot about what matters in the world. But at the same time as that, I'm getting interested in creativity and movies. I particularly have always loved storytelling and then music as well. And the older I got, the more interested I got in music, and particularly EDM and nightclubbing. And in the UK and in Europe, you can go to nightclubs at the age of 18. So really, when I was old enough to do that, I was starting to go into that scene, not for the kind of quirkier and less good elements of that culture, but purely because I love the music and I wanted to be in that scene. And I'd already started DJing at about the age of 17. Got interested in the music, started figuring out, how do you make this music? How do you perform it? That led me to DJing, that led me to the club scene. And then taking everything that I had in my upbringing, and I kind of really gave my life to Christ when I was about 17, properly started living for Jesus rather than just going to church and stuff. All of that came together at the same time and made me think, right, I want to take my faith seriously, I want to be compassionate, and I love music. So let me do all of that stuff together and take Jesus into the club scene and see what we can do to serve him there and bring people some hope.
Wow, dude.
That's amazing.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That sounds a little bit like some of the early Transform stuff that we did.
For sure.
Well, along those lines, man, what would you say is your biggest inspiration musically? And it could be from the past, or it could just be right now, or both. Like, what is your kind of biggest inspiration in music?
I mean, like you guys, I've probably got so many different ones that have influenced me in different ways. And again, over time, as musical tastes change a little bit, you kind of get influenced by new people along the way. But if I was to pick one definitive all-time influence, it would, without question, be Daft Punk. Because when I first heard Daft Punk as a teenager in the kind of late 90s, I had never heard anything like that. I'd heard plenty of dance music, but I'd never heard dance music that felt dangerous and creative and not just structured in that kind of progressive house or progressive trance structure, which I liked a lot. But this felt like an actual artistry, It sounds a bit pretentious, but it did. It felt like artistry. But it was also poppy at at times as well, and really accessible to the mainstream. And then at other times it was not accessible at all. It was really weird and quirky and out there. And so I think Daft Punk, and through listening to them, revealed to me that actually this EDM thing can really be whatever you want it to be. And it can also be, from the same artist, very commercial and also very experimental. You don't have to pick one. And so all of those things were a huge influence to me as I started making music. And forevermore as I've been making it, although there's been other people that have come along, Daft Punk have always been a constant inspiration.
Awesome, man.
That's great. I remember I had the Around the World vinyl, and that was on one of my first, I don't know if it was the first one, but maybe the second one, mixtape that I ever did DJing.
Oh, cool.
Daft Punk Around the World, and then of course they came out with Homework and all that other stuff. But how did you feel when they announced that they're calling it? I think it was.
Oh, heartbroken, man.
Yeah.
Heartbroken, yeah. Like I posted on Twitter the day they announced they were splitting up that for a few years, quite a few years now, I've had a little pot of money set aside, my Daft Punk emergency fund, so that if at any point they suddenly announced that they were going to play a show, pretty much anywhere in the world, I had some money to jump on a flight and get a ticket and go see it. Because I never got to go see Daft Punk perform live. It never worked out for me. So I was like, right, I'm going to set this money aside. Then if it ever happens, I'll be ready to go.
Oh, wow.
Well, it looks like my wife's getting a new kitchen instead. So.
Hey, though, you know what? In 10, 15 years, there could be a reunion situation, so you might just want to keep some savings.
I know, right? I don't think I'm going to be able to talk her into that, though.
Well, right on, man. We're here with Galactus Jack, moving the needle. Want to encourage you guys to go check out his music on all the streaming platforms. Galactus Jack, Better Days, remix album, Now and Then, his debut album as well. All this stuff, you guys definitely want to get in your life. Did I say Better Days? It's Younger Days, right? Younger Days. Okay, cool. And so one of the things we admire about you, Ben, is through your music, you kind of touched on it in your story, but you want to make a difference. I know right at the heart of you is the heart of an evangelist and a gifting as an evangelist. And so I know you're doing that with Advance as well, but as an artist, maybe can you just unpack a little bit about that? Like when you go to a show, you play the music, you bring the house down, you do what you need to do as a DJ, but you are known as someone who's consistently bringing a message as well. And so would you want to talk to us about the importance of that, or why young DJs could inspire to do the same thing, something like that?
Yeah, for sure. It's all really about what the point of the art or the talent or the passion that you have is. And if Jesus is the starting point, then he will be the center of everything that you then produce and do moving forward. And at times it might look incredibly overt and evangelistic and offering an appeal to people to actually respond to the things that you're putting out there through your art. Other times it might look more subtle, and it might be more about just getting people to engage with things that they've never previously thought about, and just offering a few little bits that they can connect to that will prompt thoughts, emotions, inspiration as part of the journey. And it's all valid and it's all good. So when I was in the club scene, for me, the music itself, the art itself, and the performance itself wasn't particularly part of the outreach, the evangelism. I just wanted to be the best DJ that I possibly could, so that club promoters would want to hire me and have me come play their nights. Because I knew that if I could do a good job, put on a great show for people, and get into those club nights, I'd be able to get alongside the other DJs, I'd get alongside the bar staff, the club promoters, the bar managers, and actually begin a relationship with them and be a friend to them and reveal Christ through the way that I live. But over time, that was great, and loads of great experiences of that, and amazing conversations with people, and being able to pray with people in the back rooms of nightclubs and all sorts of cool stuff like that. But over time, I was like, I want the art actually to speak more clearly of who Jesus is. And I actually want an opportunity in those environments to not just do it relationally, which is really important, like you would if you're a teacher or an accountant or a nurse. You can reach people while you're doing your job. Cool, do that while you're a DJ as well. But I wanted to have an opportunity to actually use the art itself more to proclaim and then offer an invitation. And that's probably the point where I started to move away a little bit from the club scene and move into more putting actual club nights on that I was responsible for, in events that I got invited to play that had the same agenda that I did, which was rather than having a space on a Friday night, like a nightclub where people can come and escape from life for a few hours, because life is tough. Let me get away from life for a couple of hours, let my hair down, have a good time, party, it's the weekend, you know? It's like, okay, that's fine, but I don't want to give you an environment where you run away from life. I want to give you an environment where you actually get connected to true life. So we wanted to put on events that people could come and not escape reality, but connect to the ultimate reality in Jesus. And so the concept became more evangelistic. And look, it's all valid, and we need all of it. But for me, it's been a journey. And right now, I'm very much of the view that, like, if I can use my concerts to proclaim the goodness of God, then that's what I want to do.
That's incredible. So for those at the Message and our friends at Afterbeat and others like that, Ignite, we understand what that looks like. What would that look like, just in a nutshell? You're being more overt, you're being more intentional. Like, literally, what does that look like for, say, some of our listeners in Latin America right now or around the world who are listening? What does that look like? Galactus Jack is playing, you're being intentional, and now that comes. What does that look like?
Yeah, well, I like to get on the microphone quite a lot while I'm DJing, and actually encourage people to respond to the music in certain ways. And I don't think you need to do that necessarily. I think you can use visuals behind you. And again, I try to use video screens wherever possible and projection to make not just to make the show more visually interesting, which is part of it. You want it to look cool and interesting, but actually through those screens to kind of, you can get some thought-provoking imagery and messaging, because people learn in different ways. They respond to things. Their spirits are touched in different ways. So it makes sense for us to create environments where people can be impacted in different ways, not to manipulate people, not to try and coerce people into a special moment where then we can get them. No, not at all. To actually just offer humbly inspiration that we believe is connecting and connected to the reality of who Jesus is. And so I'll be on the mic a little bit, telling people, you know, what they might want to focus on while they're dancing. Part of it's just getting people hyped and having a good time. But without fail, at every single concert I play, at some point we'll turn the decks off and actually preach the gospel and say, hey, look, you know, we've been having a party right here, a celebration of life. It's beautiful, but the only true celebration of life we can really have is if we know who the source of life is. So we preach the gospel and invite people into new life by putting their trust in Jesus. And then we turn the decks back on, and it's a different kind of party then, because now we're having a salvation party of new life having come. And for me, those parties are better than any party I've ever been to in any nightclub anywhere in the world, because it's so spiritually profound as you see people connecting to true life.
That's amazing.
That.
And for those of you listening, let me tell you, that's not just talk. I've seen it in action, and I've seen it. I've seen that what you've done in a show, and it's just done really well. And it's, for me, when I saw the response was just amazing. And
well, yeah, let me add to that as well. Like, and thanks for saying that, because it can sometimes sound a bit like bluster, like, oh yeah, no, talk's a good game, but doesn't necessarily follow through. I just flat out won't come and play a show if I can't preach the gospel. It's as simple as that. Like, if you want a DJ to come and perform for you, and even if your night's a gospel night and stuff, but you just want the DJ to come perform, rock on. I hope you to find someone. Like, there's loads of great DJs out there that can fill that role, who are Christians, who'll fill that role. But for me, I'm an evangelist, and the DJing is awesome. I love it, but I will lay the DJing down in a heartbeat if that's getting in the way of the evangelism. For me, it's about proclaiming Jesus. So if that's there, if that's not there, we'll find you someone else.
Oh, dang, dude, I love it, bro. I love it, man. And I really wanted to hit that because I feel like a lot of guys are scared, or they're not willing to go there, and I feel like that's going to inspire a huge amount of people, bro. So thank you for sharing that. And I just encourage everyone to listen back to that part. Listen back. That's okay. Be trained right now in this moment with what Ben has just said, because we need more of that to build the kingdom, to share the gospel around the world, really. So
yeah,
amazing.
And just like how Ben or Galactus Jack, you know, was anticipating his Daft Punk show. If you ever see a Galactus Jack on the bill, you want to hit that show, because it is an experience. So just encourage you to do that. Definitely, again, check out his music on Spotify, And of course, shameless plug, little Transform remix of I Got You.
Yeah, absolutely.
You definitely check that out, little summer vibes. But hey, real quick, tell us about the new book that you just released. I believe it's My Lord, My God. Tell us about that.
I got 2 new books out actually. This lockdown's been productive. I got this one, My Lord and My God, and I got this one which comes out real soon. It's called If Jesus Is the Answer, What Is the Question?
Okay.
And the first one is looking at the life of the Apostle Thomas, Jesus' disciple, who we call Doubting Thomas, if you know in the church tradition. And I explore a little bit of why I don't think that nickname is particularly helpful. We explore a little bit about doubt, but actually what we look at is what can we learn from Thomas about what it really means to follow Jesus as bold witnesses to his truth. So really what I'm talking about in this DJ stuff, I think a lot of that has come from learning actually about Thomas. It's about going on an adventure, being bold, being prepared to follow Jesus wherever it takes. And when the doubts come, reminding ourselves that we need to actually have a fresh encounter with the risen Jesus to help us navigate through our doubts. And then this one is really just sort of giving you questions that you can ask yourself before you go and share with the world. And then some questions that you can actually ask people in everyday conversation that could lead to ordinary conversations becoming extraordinary conversations for the gospel.
That's great.
That's awesome, man. Well, great. It sounds incredible. So is there anything else that you're looking forward to? I know you recently married, and huge congratulations on that. Is there anything coming up you're looking forward to, or just continuing on writing and music?
I'm really looking forward to getting out on the road again. It's been a year since I was out and about. So I'm looking forward to getting in front of real people and having that connection. To be honest with you, I'm kind of like semi-retired now as a DJ. Like I will still come out and play shows from time to time. Again, if there's a good gospel opportunity, I will come do that where the Lord leads if there's an opportunity. But I don't do half as many, even if COVID wasn't happening, I don't do half as many shows. So for me, it's going to be like praying and saying, Lord, what do you want me to spend my time doing? If you want me to do some shows, let me know which ones they are. I don't say yes to every opportunity that comes in. Equally, if you don't want me to play any more shows, that's okay. I can live with that, and we'll let the younger generation come through and do what God's calling them to do. So I think I'm just excited about when everything opens up, actually sitting in front of the Lord and just say, Lord, I know I have opportunity now, but I don't just want to take it because it's there. You show me what you want me to do, and I'll go with that.
Wisdom, man.
Come
There's
on,
so
that's
much
great.
richness, man.
Awesome. So
good.
again, here with Galactus Jack, we're about to jump into our extended version at our YouTube channel at Transform EDM. But before we go, tell us where people can find you, where they can get in touch with you, get a hold of you, find your music, socials, website, any kind of plug you want to put there. How can we find you?
It's simple. At Galactus Jack is the social for everything.
Yeah.
At Galactus Jack.
Galactus with a U, right? Galactus with a U.
Yeah, Galactus
That's
Jack.
US, that's right. Cool, Galactus with a G, right? Awesome, that's incredible, man. Okay, well, hey, just a couple more questions for our extended version. Thank you so much, Galactus Jack, Ben Jack, for being here. So fun and so much richness in this episode. Seriously, guys, I hope you guys listen to this one on repeat. It's so good, as many of the other ones are as well. But yeah, just a little thing about the music, you know, younger days, remix album now and then. Sort of, what was your inspiration? You can pick any cross section. It can even be the debut, the first. I mean, any cross section. Just pick one or two highlights and just expand on what some of the inspiration was behind that.
Yeah, it's a good question. There's, like, generally speaking, I don't know how you boys go about doing it, but for me, it's about individual songs that then potentially become a collective project.
Okay,
So I think sometimes you write a song and you kind of get a sense that it's just a song for its own vibe, and that could have all sorts of themes attached to it, and it's just like a one-off. And then other times you're writing songs and they seem to have like a complementary flow to them, and so as you put them together, it feels like they belong as an EP or it belongs as an album. I don't necessarily start out writing songs to make a particular project. So like when I go into sit down in front of the computer or whatever, or work with whatever collaborator I might be working with, it's not so much like, okay, I need 10 songs so that I can put an album out. It's more just like, well, what song is this going to be? And like, what themes do we want to explore? And we'll pray, we'll read scripture, we'll have conversations over lunch together and see what stuff comes out of our lives if it's a collaboration. Which I don't think I've ever written a song that isn't some form of collaboration in some way, shape or form. And so the inspiration is always something to do with faith. It's always something to do with working out faith in light of the world, in light of my current experience, in light of some biblical truth that I've been thinking about, or, which is often the case, in light of how might this point people specifically to think about Jesus. But then as you write a few of those, you start thinking, there's some common themes coming here. Yeah. I think we could probably collate these together. And so for Younger Days, for example, which is my most, I guess it's kind of like my most comprehensive album. It's got the most songs on it, took the longest to write. But it also kind of feels cohesive to me, at least, that they all kind of belong together, even though they're quite different in style, musically. The general vibe there is that there were just songs about exploring faith that is childlike, not immature, but childlike, and remembering back to the younger days of approaching your father. I know people have different family relationships and dynamics, and this won't be true for everybody in their earthly father relationship, but thinking for myself, for like approaching my dad as a kid, and what does that feel like to have a relationship with my dad? But even if you don't have that in an earthly relationship, that's actually what God himself is offering all people, to have him as our heavenly father, and we can approach him with a childlike faith and enthusiasm and innocence, actually, in many ways. And I wanted to kind of represent that through the different songs, so that it kind of just happened over a process.
Bro, that is so good. That is so good. That's something that's been on my heart, actually, thinking back to the cross-section of youth workers, pastors, people who inspired me, even like you said, even my father. Basically, like all those commitments, when we were coming up and we were younger, saying, yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll respond to that. Yes, I wanted all those youth work. I wanted to like get a hold of them somehow and tell them I still mean it. Like I still mean all those commitments. I still mean those things. Yes, I haven't always kept it perfect, but yes, I still mean it. Those younger days, remembering when, and there's a new Maverick City worship song too, of Take Me Back, just remembering those younger days, remembering when it was simple, the childlike faith, the things we said yes to, the things like, yes, I'll go, yes, I'll do, yes, I'll follow you, Jesus. And then how that gets muddied. But no, if we can just have that childlike heart still, then how much more rich our relationship with God and how much more fruitful maybe it can be going forward. So, dude, so good, good.
Awesome. Let's see. I want to ask you about the Message Trust.
Yeah.
What is the Message Trust for our listeners, and what's your involvement with that? And I mean, there's a lot there, but in your own words, what is that?
So the Message Trust is a missional organization in the UK. Can you see that sun on my face there? As the sun has just come up. This is a rare thing. I live in Manchester in England, and right now there's like sun beaming on my face.
Do they have sun?
Yeah. It never happens.
It proves the
truth. Never
of
happens.
Sun in Manchester.
So I can only assume that Jesus is happy that we're talking about it.
Yeah, the Lord's favor is upon you.
That's so cheesy, but we'll go with it. So the Message is like a missional organization that's been around for almost 30 years, and it started in Manchester. Back when Andy Hawthorne and his brother were wanting to impact the young people of the city of Manchester. And so did an outreach to schools and did a bunch of concerts in the evenings, got a bunch of bands from the US and the UK, Christian bands involved. And thus began a ministry that really seek to impact young people and get the gospel out to them. And over the years, it's developed into some bands that your listeners might have heard of, like the Worldwide Message Tribe was the very first one that became the Tribe, and then bands later on like LZ7, who are still rocking and rolling today, and Brightline and Soulbox and bands like that. So they go into high schools, put on concerts, invite the young people to concerts, and it really is an opportunity to engage with the young people, get thinking about life through the music, through the lessons, through the concerts, and offer an invitation to follow Jesus and get connected into a local church. It's always partnership with the local church that we're looking for. We also run projects called Eden, where we move people, Christians, into most deprived neighborhoods. and to not just be doing projects, but to actually living there, to incarnate, to be amongst the people, and to live and love and dwell. We love that. There's a whole host of Eden teams, more than 50 Eden teams around the UK, and in Canada, and South Africa, and Germany. So it's kind of a global thing that has launched out of Manchester. We have an enterprise centre where we help, because we work in prisons. So when people are out of prison who have given their life to the Lord, we try to help them get training. We have like a halfway house for men, addiction recovery, all that kind of stuff. And we can train them in various skill sets to give them employment opportunity. And we have run like a community grocers where people can come and pay a tiny, very small amount of money, just a few bucks. Like a couple bucks, and they can get like loads of bags of shopping to feed their family and stuff. So it's very practical, but the gospel is always at the heart of everything that we do. And with that in mind, that's mainly what I work on, is something called Advance, which is about equipping the church for evangelism, and at the same time as equipping the whole church to be witnesses to the gospel. It's also about stirring the gift of the evangelist, so that we'd see more men and women around the world actually realize they might have the call of the evangelist in their life, and then to outwork that in whatever sphere God calls them to.
Just before we close on that, Ben, I was going to ask about Advance. How does that break down, and how do you expand that? I've had some exposure to it, but how does that actually work? I know you're working with like networks around the entire UK and I think around the world. But yeah, how does that break down? How does that work?
So, well, you can find out all about it at advancedgroups.org, but it basically revolves around peer group mentoring. So we have a guide that you can download for free. It's all free. We don't charge for any of this. And you download it, and it basically gives you a little. I don't know if people are familiar with like Alpha or Christianity Explored, but what those courses do for exploring Christianity, Advance does for helping us to explore our witness, our evangelism to the world. And so you get maybe 10 or 12 people together once a month, go through the materials session by session. There's enough there for 3 years of journeying together if you want to go for that long, or even longer. We give you ideas beyond that. And it's about 5 things really: regular meeting once a month, get together, make it a priority that we equip each other well. 2, sharpening. What is the gospel? Do we know it well enough to explain it with simplicity? We don't want to preach a false gospel, right? We don't want to empty of its power. We want to preach its truth, or speak its truth in conversation. Number 3, accountability. We've tragically seen too many Christian leaders, brothers and sisters, fall by the wayside. And it's no good. It's shocking, and it's horrible, and it's awful. And one of the ways that we can avoid that is by holding each other to account for the way that we're living, the things that we're watching, the habits that we get into, all of that kind of stuff. The 4th thing is communication between groups, WhatsApp messages, encouragement, prayer requests. So there's fellowship there, And then the 5th thing is multiplication. If you're journeying in this group, why don't you also consider starting one with a group of other people, and so those 2 groups can kind of run parallel. And we started this like 5 years ago in Manchester, 6 years ago in Manchester, with one group. And now we have more than 1,000 of these groups in 58 countries around the world. Wow. And let me tell you, there is no pat on the back for us in this one. I think it's simply because the Lord likes and blesses things that make his gospel known and take holiness in particular seriously, which is what we're trying to do by his grace and power.
That's incredible, bro. Thank you for unpacking that. I love that. Go to advancedgroups.org, check it out, download it, get involved, get stuck in. Right on, Tim. Where are we going from here?
We're gonna do our.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
All right, we'll do our fun questions here that we.
Okay.
Ask a lot of people. Again, we're here with Galactus Jack. Hit him up at Galactus Jack on the socials. Go to Spotify, Apple Music, check out his music, slamming stuff, and again, check out. All of his ministry stuff, his books as well. So, all right. So, if John and I were to see that you were playing a show where you were, and we saved up our money because we
have a Galactus Jack account. We're trying to
we're setting.
Don't do it. Build a new kitchen instead.
No, but if we came and visited you where you live,
Yeah.
and we hung out, where would you take us to eat? What's the best spot to eat in your area?
Oh, that's a good question. Now, in Manchester, where I live, we have a lot of good places that you can go, and some of them are kind of like independent, boutique, unique places. But I mean, like if I was gonna go like mainstream commercial, you can never go wrong with Nando's. Like some people might find that controversial, but
so true.
You guys don't. I don't think you have Nando's in the USA, right, at the moment.
Just a couple. I know there's one.
Oh, you
in
have a couple by now.
Yeah,
okay.
We went to one in Washington D.C. And then we were in Scotland. We went to one, but that's not the US.
And Sunderland, yeah, the Ignite guys.
Yeah, you probably went in Sunderland, I would imagine. Yeah, like I love Nando's. It's chicken, and that's all you need to know. It's just chicken. It's not like KFC or Chick-fil-A. By the way, we don't have Chick-fil-A over here, and that is literally, if anything gets me questioning my faith, is why we don't have Chick-fil-A in the UK. But Nando's is great. It's like peri hot chicken style.
Yes.
I think it originated in South Africa. But it's kind of Portuguese themed. Anyway, it's great. So, but that's kind of like mass. There's a lot of those. If I was going to take you somewhere like unique, that's a good question because there's a lot of places that I like. There's a few burrito bars here that I really like in Manchester, and there's a couple places you can go where you can get really good ribs. There's a place called Cane and Grain in Manchester where you can get really, really good ribs.
Excellent. And what about curries? Is it good curry?
Oh, now. In Manchester, we have something called the Curry Mile, which is basically a mile-long street with curry shops on either side all the way down.
Oh, wow.
So you could go to a different curry house every night, probably every day for a year and try a different place. So maybe not quite that many, but there's a lot. So yeah, if you want good curry, go to India, right, or into kind of South Asia. But if you want good curry in the UK, then yeah, you could do a lot worse than coming to Manchester.
Right. Oh, that's so good. Okay, Ben. Little known story. It's the Message 2000. It's giving away my age. And it's the MEN Arena. I was there for the A and the B week because they partnered with Soul Survivor ABC, I think. But at least they had the 2 weeks. I was there for the full 2. And it was the MEN Arena every night. And there was a gentleman there about my age who was just working there, just a staff on the MEN, and was just attending, like, because he was working actually, you know. But we started striking up conversations. And it was fantastic. I ended up missing some of the sessions because we were outside in the foyer, like having gospel conversations. You know, he wasn't a believer, and he was from a South Asian background, and it was so cool. At the end, you know, we developed this friendship, always like centered around our faith and like the gospel. And he took me to the Curry Mile, and I got to have some of that infamous curry there, bro. It was so good. And it's
life changing, right?
It was unbelievable, bro. So I concur. That's so good. Fantastic, man.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you know, being in the UK, and we're just rounding off the last couple questions here. Do you have a favorite sports team that you follow, and who would that be?
I do. I am a religious Leeds United soccer team supporter.
Yes, that is so good. Okay. Yeah. Do you realize that Jesus Loves Electro, was it Casper, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Casper from Jesus Loves Electro is a mega Leeds United fan as well.
No way, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we asked the same question a couple weeks ago, and he said the same thing. He said he stood on the road singing the songs. So he's all in. And Ole, the other guy right now in Jesus Loves Electro, he's a Man United fan. So it's kind of like
well, we'll pray for him because that's evil. But God has tested me a lot because my wife is a Manchester United supporter.
Oh no!
And I'm a Leeds. And for those of you out there won't know this, but soccer rivalries can get very intense, and there's a few real strong soccer rivalries. Manchester United have a few strong ones. With their rivalry with Liverpool is probably the biggest, strongest rivalry.
Yes.
Their rivalry with the other team in the same city, Manchester City, is really strong. But there's a special rivalry as well between Leeds and Manchester United. We don't get on at all. So God has been teaching me a lot of grace through my wife being a Manchester United supporter. But I'm praying for her to be delivered, and we'll see what happens.
That's awesome. And people say that they don't understand persecution in the Western world, but bro, like I feel like you might know something about that in the whole situation you're in.
Some would say that being a Leeds fan in and of itself is persecution.
Yeah.
But, it's been a tough ride at times, but this season things are going good. The last few seasons things have been going real good for us. So
fantastic. Well, let's hope for the best going forward, man. Well, I guess I'll just take this last question. Okay, so we know what country you live in, of course, but regardless of all that, personally, are you tea or are you coffee? If you were on the day.
Oh, coffee every day of the week.
Okay.
In fact, 5 times a day every day of the week, which is probably too much.
That sounds like me, so that's cool.
Yeah.
So no tea. Are you not having a cup of tea?
I like tea, and I can drink tea, but I love coffee, and so yeah, coffee gets me through the day, and I don't think I could live without coffee. It would maybe I need to work that out actually in my faith if I can't live without coffee, but it's a staple part of the diet for sure.
Maybe some addiction recovery work or something.
Yeah, I mean, and coffee is crazy addictive as well. Have you ever, if you're a big coffee drinker, have you ever tried not to drink coffee?
Oh yeah.
Man, it messes you up, right?
It does, absolutely.
Yeah, it's been a while, but yeah, I went through a long phase where I didn't, or I tried not to, and yeah, it was definitely not the most fun. So
this is how bad it is for me, and there might be like medical professionals listening into this right now who want to get my email address and tell me to go see a doctor, but it's so bad for me that if I don't have a coffee by like noon, I will get a headache.
Yeah.
It's not like not having a coffee for like a day or something and it starts to mess. Like even if by noon I haven't had it, like midday I haven't had a coffee, my brain starts to get headache. I need to probably give up and start drinking water. I think I'm talking myself around here.
That's hilarious.
Dude, we're gonna put some helpful links in the
Yeah, dude. Coffee Anonymous. Yeah.
So there it is, Galactus Jack talking music, life, faith, and addiction, apparently.
Yeah,
help
addiction
them
to
to
coffee.
get over it.
Please.
Ben, thank you so much.
Thank you, bro.
For taking the time. I know I have really enjoyed this. Great job. I know our listeners will enjoy it. Again, check him out at Galactus Jack. Follow all his music, read his books, hit him up. And Ben, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Ben.
Guys, thank you. Let me just say before we end, that, like, you guys are like heroes, and you got what you guys have been doing for all these years, just faithfully trying to utilize that EDM music, the EDM scene, and you guys know everybody. You've been an encouragement to everybody, and whenever we chat, you're always so encouraging to me. And so, love you guys. Keep doing what you're doing. It's awesome.
Thank you so much, bro.
Thanks, bro.
It means a lot.
Join the movement at transformedm.com and on the socials at transformedm, #movement radio. Powered by Afterbeat. Afterbeat.org.uk.